Ao did everything right. You skipped vacations, said no to dinners, drove the same car for years, watched every dollar, and built the habit everyone told you would guarantee success. Save consistently. Be disciplined. Live below your means. That was the formula. That was the promise. And yet, somehow, you look at your account today, and it feels like you're standing still, or worse, slowly falling behind. The uncomfortable truth is this: saving money used to work. It really did. There was a time when putting money aside actually moved you forward. Prices were stable, wages could keep up, and the gap between effort and reward made sense. But something changed, quietly, gradually, and most people didn't notice it happening until it was already too late. Today, the game is different, and the strategy that once protected people is now quietly working against them, because every dollar you save is sitting still, while everything around you is moving faster. Rent goes up, groceries go up, insurance goes up, education, healthcare, housing, everything moves in one direction, and your savings, they don't move at all. In fact, they move backwards, just slowly enough that you don't feel it day to day. But over time, it adds up in a way that's almost invisible until you zoom out. You might feel like you're making progress because the number in your account is going up, but what that number can actually buy is going down. And that gap, that silent gap between what you have and what things cost, is where most people are losing without even realizing it. And here's what makes it worse. You're being told to double down on the exact thing that's no longer working. Save more, cut more, spend less, be more disciplined. But discipline doesn't fix a system where the rules have changed. Think about this. 10 years ago, saving a few $100s a month could actually build momentum. It could turn into something meaningful over time. Today, that same effort barely keeps up with rising costs. You're running, but the ground under you is moving in the opposite direction. And this is where frustration starts to creep in, because it feels like no matter what you do, it's not enough. You save, but life gets more expensive. You cut costs, but new ones appear. You try to get ahead, but the finish line keeps moving. And eventually, people start blaming themselves. I'm not saving enough. I need to be more disciplined. I need to try harder. But what if the problem isn't you? What if the strategy itself is outdated? Saving money was designed for a different environment, one where stability existed, one where the value of money held relatively steady over time. That environment doesn't exist anymore. And continuing to play by those rules today creates a quiet mismatch between effort and outcome. This doesn't mean saving is useless. It still matters. It still protects you. It still gives you stability. But it's no longer a growth strategy. It's not how you move forward anymore. And that's the part nobody explains clearly. Because if saving alone doesn't move you ahead, then what does? The answer is uncomfortable, but simple. Your money has to move. If your money stays still, it loses. If it moves, it has a chance to keep up and eventually pull ahead. This is why people who seem less disciplined financially sometimes end up further ahead, not because they're smarter, not because they're lucky, but because their money isn't sitting still. It's working. It's exposed to growth. It's participating in something that moves faster than inflation. Meanwhile, the disciplined saver is doing everything right, inside a system that no longer rewards that behavior the same way. And that creates a strange paradox. The more disciplined you are, the more stuck you can feel. Not because discipline is wrong, but because it's incomplete. What used to be the entire strategy is now just the first step, and most people never get past that step. They build the habit of saving, but never transition into building the habit of growing. They focus on protecting money, but never on multiplying it. And over time, that difference becomes massive, because small growth, over long periods, changes everything, while no growth, even with consistency, slowly loses ground. This is why you can have two people earning the same income, saving the same amount, making the same sacrifices, and end up in completely different places 10 or 20 years later. One person's money stayed still, the other person's money moved. And that one difference compounds into something that looks almost unfair from the outside. But it's not unfair, it's just math. And once you see it, it's hard to unsee. The goal was never just to save money. The goal was to build a system where your money doesn't rely only on your effort. Because effort has a limit. Time has a limit. Energy has a limit. But growth, if used correctly, doesn't. And that's the shift people need to understand. Saving money is no longer the finish line. It's just the starting point. The real game begins after that. And most people never realize it until years have already passed. Until they look back and wonder why it feels like they did everything right and still ended up behind. If you understand this early, you don't just change what you do with money. you change the entire trajectory of your life. Because the difference between standing still and moving forward is not effort, it's direction. And once you start moving in the right direction, even small steps begin to matter again. That's when progress starts to feel real. That's when the system stops working against you and starts working for you. And most people never get there. Not because they can't, but because no one ever explained that the rules changed.